I'm Andy Jones, and I'm here today with the guy who led me to Christ, Jim Anderson.
And I'm Jim Anderson, and I came to Christ when I was in graduate school because through some guys I played basketball with. They were so different to play with. I didn't know any of them, but I went to the gym every day with a group of guys from grad school, and we would always seek out these guys because they were so pleasant to play with. Later, I was invited to a student ministry meeting, and after the meeting, a couple guys walked up with me and said, "Hey, I know you," and they were ball players from that team. So I already had a real different flavor they had just had a real different flavor of life, and so I was real interested in their life. So anyway, that was how I came to Christ, and then we met. Tell them how we met.
We met through Dempsey Burleson.
We did.
Yeah, I was thinking it was on the basketball court, but we met at a dinner at Dempsey's house.
Yeah, and I walked in, and Andy said, "I understand you're from Wyoming," and I said, "Yeah," and he said, "I know one guy in the whole state of Wyoming. His name is Mark Rennie," and I said, "Mark Rennie's one of my best friends," and so we had an immediate connection. You grew up across the street from his wife, or something?
Right. Yeah, he was married to Sally, and Sally was across the street from my home.
Right. So we began a relationship, and I think we started by playing racquetball and basketball, and I was pursuing his common interests. It was very convenient because they were my common interests as well. And he was fun. We became friends pretty quickly, and then started pretty quickly after that. Started meeting. I don't know if really for Bible study, but for breakfast and Bible reading and discussion. And
yeah, we played basketball, and I had the same sense. You and Randy Boyts and Rick Myers and the guys that we played with were just great guys. And I was prone to fouling a lot, and they never called me. And it was really. Anyway, they were great guys, and I was a bad shooter, and Randy kept throwing the ball to me. And it's just a wonderful...
Putting the goals and interests of others above your own.
It was.
But we also met every Friday. Well, I guess it was different days, but I remember Friday as being the primary day for breakfast for years. Not the whole 10 years, but a bunch of years. And we would read verse by verse. I'd read a verse, and then he'd read a verse, and I'd read a verse. And then anybody that wanted to stop and talk about anything would stop and talk.
Right.
And it takes a long time to go through.
After I was converted, you led me through John, Acts, and Romans. And that was an additional huge sacrifice of your time. But it got me grounded in the basic core books of the New Testament.
Before an adult, at least, comes to Christ, you spend a lot of time answering the why questions. Because people need to make a reasonably informed, intelligent decision out of something other than just emotion. And so you spend a lot of time saying, why, and how does it fit together? After they come to Christ, and this is... You think that thing kind of turns upside down. Then the way God deals with you is you obey first, and then comes understanding. And that's a pretty tough flip for Americans to make, because we're so independent. We kind of demand all the answers before we decide, which means nobody's boss but me. So Andy made that transition pretty well. Partly because I think the evangelism process was so slow. We really
so
got
tedious for you.
We got to. No, it wasn't tedious.
I know.
It was no sacrifice. I enjoyed the time completely, but the thoroughness of that process created a more accurate understanding of who God is and how He deals with believers. And so that. I think you came to faith understanding that this means obedience, and it means obedience without necessarily fully understanding.
It took me 10 years, but eventually I decided to accept Christ, and you were very patient, and for that I will be eternally grateful.